They gave us 48 hours to surrender our entire species, 48 hours to hand over our weapons, disband our armies, and accept our place as prisoners on our own planet. They had 400 civilizations behind them, 12,000 ships, 600,000 years of power and authority, and they expected us to kneel. They had absolutely no idea what humanity was capable of when pushed to the very edge of extinction. The ships appeared without warning. On a Tuesday morning, as billions of humans went about their completely ordinary lives, the sky simply changed. Where there had been blue, there was now darkness. Where there had been clouds, there now hung vessels of impossible size, 12,000 ships, each one larger than the island of Manhattan, each one blocking out the sun over major cities across every single continent on Earth. In New York, a stockbroker named Michael Chin dropped his coffee cup and just stood there, mouth open, staring at the sky. In Tokyo, school children froze mid-step on their way to class. In London, a double-decker bus crashed into a lamppost because the driver forgot he was supposed to be watching the road. In Cairo, ancient mosques and gleaming modern skyscrapers fell under the shadow of something so massive that every human achievement in all of history suddenly felt impossibly small. For exactly 1 hour, there was silence. No communication. No demands. No explanation. Just the overwhelming, crushing presence of ships that defied everything humanity understood about physics, engineering, and possibility. Then the message came. It broadcast on every frequency, every television, every radio, every smartphone, every single electronic device capable of receiving a signal suddenly displayed the same image, a creature that looked vaguely humanoid, but stretched in all the wrong ways. Its skin was pale blue, almost translucent, like you could see right through it. Its eyes were large and completely black. When it spoke, its lipless mouth moved in ways that didn't quite match the words that came through in perfect, cold, emotionless English. Species designation, human. Planet designation, Earth. You have been judged. It paused, just long enough to let those words reach every corner of the planet. I am High Arbiter Vexus of the Galactic Council. We represent 412 spacefaring civilizations across 17 galactic sectors. We have maintained peace and order in this galaxy for over 600,000 of your Earth years. We have watched your species develop. We have monitored your progress. We have waited. Another pause. In homes, in offices, on streets around the world. Humanity held its collective breath. And now we have decided humanity poses an unacceptable threat to galactic stability. Your violent nature, your rapid technological advancement, and your refusal to accept your place in the natural order of species development has forced our hand. Vexus leaned closer to the camera. Those black eyes seemed to look directly into the soul of every single human watching. You have 48 hours to surrender your species unconditionally. All weapons will be destroyed. All military forces will be disbanded. All space-capable technology will be confiscated. Your population will be reduced to sustainable levels and relocated to designated habitation zones. You will become protected species under council guardianship. He said the word protected the way someone might talk about keeping animals in a zoo. Failure to comply will result in immediate and total sterilization of your planet. You have 48 hours. Use them wisely. The transmission ended. For approximately 3 seconds, there was absolute silence across the entire Earth. Then the chaos began. The emergency meeting took place in Geneva at the United Nations headquarters. Within 6 hours of that transmission, leaders from every major nation on Earth had arrived. The building was surrounded by military forces from a dozen different countries, all working together for the very first time in human history. Above them, clearly visible through the skylights, an alien ship hovered like a dark reminder of exactly what awaited their decision. Inside the main assembly hall, the arguments were fierce. "We have no choice," said the representative from Germany, his voice shaking. "You saw those ships. We cannot fight that. We cannot even comprehend that. If we resist, we die. All of us. Every human being on Earth. And if we surrender," shot back the Nigerian delegate, "you heard their terms. Population reduction. What does that actually mean? How many of us do they plan to reduce? Half of us? 3/4? More. At least some of us would survive. Would we? The Chinese representative stood up, her voice cutting clean through the noise. Protected species. Habitation zones. These are not terms of surrender. These are terms of captivity. They are not offering to let humanity survive. They are offering to keep us as pets. The room erupted all over again. In the corner, largely ignored by everyone, sat Secretary General Maria Santos. She had been listening quietly for hours, taking notes, running calculations in her head that had nothing to do with politics and everything to do with one simple thing: survival. Finally, she stood up. Enough. Her voice wasn't loud, but something in it made everyone stop talking. Perhaps it was a calm certainty behind it. Perhaps it was a look in her eyes that said she had already made a decision that the rest of them were still too afraid to face. I had been studying their message, not just the words, but how they delivered them, the things they chose to say, and more importantly, the things they did not say. She walked to the center of the room. They have 12,000 ships. They represent 400 civilizations. They have maintained peace for 600,000 years. These are impressive numbers. They wanted to impress us with those numbers. They wanted to terrify us into immediate compliance. It worked, someone muttered from the back. Did it? Santos pulled out a tablet. Look at what they did not say. They did not say they would destroy us instantly. They gave us 48 hours. Why? If they could simply eliminate us with single command, why give us any time at all to prepare, to plan, to possibly resist? The room went very quiet. They did not demonstrate their weapons to us before making their demand. They did not show us what happened to other species who refused. They did not tell us how many civilizations they have done this to before. They just made demands, like a bully on a playground who expects you to hand over your lunch money because they happen to be bigger than you. They are bigger than us, the Russian delegate pointed out. Significantly bigger. Yes, but I have been running numbers. If they have 12,000 ships, and they represent 400 civilizations, and they have existed for 600,000 years, then something does not add up, because 12,000 ships is not an overwhelming force for an empire that old and that large. Unless, she paused, making sure every leader in that room was listening, unless these ships are their entire fleet, unless they brought everyone, every ship they have. She let that sink in. Why would you bring your entire military force to intimidate one primitive species on one backwater planet, unless you were deeply afraid of what that species might become if you did not stop them right now? The American delegate leaned forward slowly. What are you suggesting, Madam Secretary General? Maria Santos looked around the room, at leaders who had spent their entire careers in conflict with each other, at nations that had fought wars, built walls, and drawn lines in the sand for all of human history. I am suggesting that for the first time in our existence, we have something that every human being on Earth can agree on: a common enemy, a common threat, a common cause. She took a breath. I am suggesting we fight back. The next 2 days were unlike anything in the entire history of our species. Every factory on Earth switched to war production. Every military force combined its resources. Every scientist, every engineer, every brilliant human mind was put to work on a single problem. How do you hurt something that seemed completely unhurtable? The answer came from a completely unexpected source. Dr. Yuki Tanaka was a theoretical physicist who had spent her entire career studying concepts that most people considered pure science fiction: warp fields, dimensional theory, the fundamental nature of space and time itself. When the alien ships arrived, she was in her laboratory in Osaka, working on an equation that had consumed the last decade of her life. An equation that, she suddenly realized, explained exactly how the alien ships worked. They are not flying, she explained to a room full of generals and world leaders 20 hours into the 48. They are not even really moving in any traditional sense. They are bending space around themselves, folding it like a sheet of paper. That is how they crossed interstellar distances. That is how they hover above our cities, without any visible means of propulsion. Can we replicate it? Asked General James Wright, who had been appointed to lead Earth's hastily assembled unified military command. No, not in 28 hours. Not in 28 years. Maybe not in 28 centuries. Dr. Tanaka paused, and a small, determined smile crossed her face. But we do not need to replicate it. We just need to break it. She pulled up her equations on the screen. Their technology bends space. Our technology, specifically our nuclear technology, tears it apart. Not much, not noticeably under normal circumstances. But if we could create a large enough tear in the right place in the right sequence, you want to nuke space itself? General Wright stared at her. I want to create a cascading spatial disruption. A chain reaction in the fabric of reality. It will not destroy their ships, but it will destroy their ability to bend space. They will be stuck here. No reinforcements. No retreat. No calling for backup. And then what? Dr. Tanaka's smile faded slightly. Then it becomes a fair fight, or as fair as we can possibly make it. The next 8 hours were spent preparing. Every nuclear weapon on Earth was collected and modified according to Dr. Tanaka's exact specifications. They were not building bombs anymore. They were building what she called spatial anchors, devices designed to lock local space-time into a rigid, completely unbendable state. Meanwhile, Earth's combined military forces prepared for the unthinkable. Fighter jets were armed with everything humanity had ever built. Naval vessels moved into position. Ground forces dug in at strategic locations around the globe. And in secret, a plan was put together. A plan so desperate, so completely irrational, so utterly and perfectly human, that no alien intelligence could have ever predicted it. With 2 hours remaining until the deadline, High Arbiter Vexus appeared once again on every screen on Earth. Your time grows short, humans. We have detected no signs of preparation for surrender. We have detected significant military mobilization across your planet. This is disappointing, but not unexpected. Violent species often require a demonstration before they choose compliance. Behind him, something shifted, something massive powered up, something designed to reduce an entire planet to nothing. We will now provide that demonstration. Observe. On screens around the entire world, humanity watched as an alien weapon fired, not at Earth, at the moon. The beam was visible from the surface. A brilliant white lance of pure energy that struck the lunar surface and simply erased it. Where the blast connected, there was no explosion, no debris flying outward, no dramatic impact crater, just absence. A perfect circle of nothing where rock and ancient dust had existed for 4.5 billion years. That was 1% of our total capability, Vexus said, completely calm. In 1 hour and 57 minutes, we will use 100%. Earth will not be damaged. Earth will cease to exist. There will be no pain. There will be no survivors. There will be nothing. The transmission ended. For a moment, humanity wavered. The moon hung in the sky, scarred and wounded. Undeniable proof of power beyond anything we could fully comprehend. Surrender felt not just reasonable in that moment. It felt inevitable. And then something completely unexpected happened. In Times Square, a man started laughing. Not the laughter of someone who had lost their mind. The laughter of someone staring at an impossible situation and choosing defiance over despair. The laughter of someone who had nothing left to lose and decided that meant they had everything to gain. Others joined him. Within minutes, crowds across the world were laughing and crying and hugging total strangers and making peace with old enemies and calling the people they loved and preparing to fight, because that is what humans do when they are cornered. We do not give up. We do not fold. We get creative. We get angry. And we get even. With exactly 1 hour remaining, Earth launched its first strike. Every nuclear-capable nation fired simultaneously. Not at the ships. That would have been pointless. Instead, they fired into specific coordinates in space, points calculated by Dr. Tanaka and her team over the previous 20 hours. The aliens did not even try to stop them. Why would they? Nuclear weapons were primitive. Nuclear weapons could not touch their shields. Nuclear weapons were, to them, a joke. The joke stopped being funny when the warheads detonated. Reality screamed. That is genuinely the only way to describe what happened next. The fabric of space-time, which had been casually stretched and folded by alien technology for centuries, suddenly found itself anchored rigidly in place. The alien ship's drives, which had been effortlessly bending the universe to their will, encountered something they had never once faced in 600,000 years of existence. Resistance. 12,000 ships shuddered simultaneously. Their engines whined. Their systems, designed for a universe that obeyed their every command, found themselves trapped inside a universe that flat-out refused to move. What is happening? High Arbiter Vexus demanded on a channel that Earth's military had been monitoring. The local space-time matrix has been stabilized. High Arbiter, locked into a fixed state. We cannot fold space. We cannot open transit gates. We cannot what? We cannot leave. We are trapped in this system. For the first time, there was something different in Vexus's voice. There was concern. How long until we break free? Unknown. The humans have created a cascading anchor effect, and it is spreading outward. Within 3 hours, the entire Sol system will be completely locked. No transit in or out. We would need to travel physically at sublight speeds to reach the nearest jump gate. How long would that take? A pause. At maximum sublight velocity, High Arbiter, 400 years. Silence on the channel. Then Vexus spoke again. And now his voice contained something that no human had ever expected to hear from a Galactic Council member. Fear. Destroy them. Destroy them right now. All of them. The alien fleet opened fire. Beams of energy tore down toward Earth's major cities. But something was already different. The weapons that had effortlessly carved a clean wound into the surface of the moon were struggling against Earth's atmosphere. The spatial anchor effect was interfering with the precise calculations their weapons required to deliver full destructive power. The beams still hit. Cities still burned. Millions of people died in those first terrible volleys. But billions survived, and those billions fought back. Fighter jets rose from hidden bases around the world, not to destroy the alien ships, not yet, but to distract, to force 12,000 massive vessels to deal with thousands of tiny, fast-moving targets, instead of focusing their firepower on population centers. Naval vessels launched missiles fitted with the same spatial anchor technology. Each hit did not destroy an alien ship, but each hit forced that ship's systems to work harder, to strain, to struggle, and in orbit, something was happening that the aliens had not anticipated at all. What are those objects? Vexus demanded, staring at his tactical display. Human spacecraft, High Arbiter, crude chemical propulsion systems, no weapons capable of penetrating our shielding, no meaningful threat assessment. They are not attacking us. They are attaching to our hulls. Confirmed. Hundreds of small craft have latched onto our vessels. They appear to contain human soldiers. Soldiers? Aboard our ships? Vexus actually laughed, though it sounded hollow even to him. What could they possibly hope to accomplish? They cannot breach our hull plating. They cannot. High Arbiter. They are cutting through the hull. Impossible. Our plating is... They're using plasma cutting torches, High Arbiter, primitive in design, but highly effective against an immobile target. Our shields are calibrated to deflect directed energy weapons. They are not designed to stop humans with hand tools. In that moment, High Arbiter Vexus began to understand something that the Galactic Council had failed to grasp in their entire 600,000 years of existence. Humans could not be measured by their technology alone. Humans were something far more dangerous than that. Humans were a species that refused, on a fundamental level, to accept the word impossible. Captain Sarah Mitchell had never expected to die in space. She had also never expected to be among the first human beings to physically board an alien spacecraft. Life, she had always believed, was full of surprises. Breaching in 3, 2, 1, the plasma torch completed its work, and a section of alien hull fell away. Atmosphere began rushing out immediately, but Mitchell's team was ready for that. They pushed through the opening, mag boots locking to the deck's surface the moment they made contact. The interior of the alien ship was nothing like any science fiction she had ever watched or read had prepared her for. It was organic, curved, warm, like being inside a living creature. Soft lights pulsed rhythmically along the walls in patterns that might have been some form of communication or navigation system. And then she saw the aliens themselves. They were exactly as unsettling up close as they had been on every screen on Earth. Tall, impossibly thin, those large, completely black eyes that seemed to see straight through you. And they were completely, utterly unprepared for hand-to-hand combat. Contact left side. Mitchell called, raising her weapon. The alien turned toward her and reached for something at its belt, some kind of device that likely could have vaporized her instantly under different circumstances. But these were not different circumstances. The Galactic Council had not fought a real war in over 200,000 years. Their weapons were designed for overwhelming demonstrations of force, for intimidation from a safe distance, for the kind of power that made actual fighting completely unnecessary. Mitchell's rifle was designed for one thing and one thing only. The alien fell, pushed forward. Mitchell ordered her team, find their command center, move. Across 12,000 alien ships, similar scenes were playing out simultaneously. Humans with rifles, with knives, with bare hands if it came to that, fighting through corridors built for species that had forgotten what real violence looked like. Fighting through systems designed by beings who had never once needed to defend themselves against someone climbing through a hole they cut themselves. The Council had been right about one thing. Humans were violent. Incredibly, terrifyingly, devastatingly violent. And they had just made the mistake of making several billion of those violent creatures very, very personally angry. In the primary command vessel, High Arbiter Vexus watched his fleet collapse in real time. 17 ships have been captured. 43 have been disabled. Our crews are reporting casualties throughout the entire fleet. These creatures are tearing us apart. How is this possible? Another council member demanded over the communication relay. They are a primitive civilization. They should be completely helpless against us. They are not helpless, Vexus said quietly. They are not primitive. We made an error, a fundamental, catastrophic error. What error? Vexus pulled up the data his analysts had collected on humanity over centuries. Their wars, their weapons, their seemingly endless, almost incomprehensible capacity for violence against one another. We looked at this data and saw a threat that needed to be controlled, a species that needed to be stopped before it spread across the galaxy. We saw their history of violence, and we assumed it made them dangerous to us specifically. He watched another ship's signal go dark on his display. We never stopped to consider what that same violence would mean if every last bit of it was directed at a single enemy. We never considered that a species forged in constant, unrelenting conflict across thousands of years of war might simply be better at fighting than anyone else in the galaxy. And we never, not once, considered that by threatening them, we were not preventing a war. He turned from the display. We were starting one. Then we destroy the planet. Use everything remaining. Burn them all and end this. With what power? Vexus asked bitterly. The spatial anchors are draining our energy reserves faster than we can compensate. Our weapons are operating at less than 30% of normal capacity. We could damage Earth further. Yes. Kill millions more, certainly, but destroy completely? He shook his head. That capability is gone. Then we threaten them again. Tell them if they do not stop. They will not believe us. They can see our weakness now. They can feel it in every exchange, in every ship they capture. These are predators, council member. We showed them blood. And predators do not stop once they have tasted it. On the tactical display, another ship went completely dark. Vexus was silent for a long moment. We have two choices available to us. We can fight until the last ship falls and die forgotten in this system, for 100 light years from home. Or we can do something the Galactic Council has not done in its entire history. And what is that? Vexus straightened slowly. We can surrender. The surrender broadcast came 12 hours after the battle began. Humanity had lost cities. Entire districts of beloved places reduced to ash and ruin. Millions of people who would never come home. Wounds that would take generations to properly heal. But we had won. High Arbiter Vexus, appeared on screens around the world for the third and final time, just as he had 48 hours earlier. But everything about him was different now. His posture, his tone, the way those black eyes could no longer quite hold a camera steady. Humanity, you have proven, considerably more capable than we had anticipated. Your spatial disruption technology has successfully imprisoned our fleet within your system. Your military forces have disabled or captured a significant portion of our vessels. Your boarding parties have demonstrated combat capabilities that we did not believe any known species still possessed. He stopped, and humanity watched as its enemies struggled visibly with words a species had never once been required to speak. The Galactic Council requests an immediate cessation of hostilities. We are prepared to negotiate terms. In Geneva, in that same assembly hall where the decision to fight had been made 2 days earlier, Secretary General Maria Santos allowed herself a small, quiet smile. "Negotiate," she said softly. "They want to negotiate. We should accept immediately," one delegate urged. "We have lost so much already. Every additional hour of fighting costs more lives." "Every additional hour," General Wright countered, "gives us more of their ships, more of their technology, more information about who else is out there. We fight until we get exactly what we need," Santos said, cutting through both of them. "This does not end with a ceasefire that buys us a few years of quiet before another fleet arrives with another ultimatum. This ends with humanity as a full, permanent, equal member of the galactic community. Nothing less." She looked around the room one final time. "I know exactly what terms we require. I know what our species has earned, and I know precisely how we're going to secure it." The Treaty of Seoul was signed 6 months later. Humanity did not join the Galactic Council. The Galactic Council joined humanity. Or more accurately, what the Council had been for 600,000 years was dissolved entirely. In its place, a new organization was formed, one where every species, regardless of age or power or the size of their fleet, held equal representation. One where military force could never again be used to threaten a developing civilization into submission. One where the arrogance and fear that had driven the Council to Earth's doorstep would be recorded in history as a warning, not a model. High Arbiter Vexus, stripped of his title and all authority, stood at the back of the signing ceremony. He watched in silence as Secretary General Maria Santos signed a document that fundamentally, permanently, and irreversibly changed the balance of power across the galaxy. Afterward, he approached her,